Recently, I decided to go back and play Batman Arkham Asylum all the way through, and I already know. A bunch of you are like, well, I play that game 3 times a year every year, and that's great, that's awesome, but like due to time, I try to cycle through what games I play. Like I always replay games, especially my favorites, but sometimes it takes me a little bit to get back to one. Especially with the Arkham series, where like being one of the cornerstones of this channel, one of the things that a lot of you love, I think I put myself in a position where I started to view playing these games less as passion, less as actually having fun and doing something good, and more as like, oh, how am I gonna get this footage, or what do I need to do here, or some live stream or something. Like going back to it, which I went back to it on my Let's Play channel, Degenerate Plays, played through it with my wife, Jill, and the link to that channel is in the description. There is a full playlist of our playthrough of that. That channel is essentially run like a podcast where we talk about whatever, while also trying our best to preserve the story of the game and talk about that at the same time. So I'd love to see you over there. Very small knit community. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a couple minutes. But going back to this game, for the first time in a few years actually, I think I took a break from Arkham Asylum, from playing through the story mode from beginning to end, not just a tiny snippet of it, for about 3 years. And going back to it now, there are so many things, especially after Suicide Squad killed the Justice League, that I noticed about old Rocksteady, and so many details and things that I relearned and rediscovered, I should say is probably the word, in this game that really, really resonated with me and were super special. Now, because of that, as a tiny little update here too, I'm actually working on at least 1 or 2 top 5s regarding Arkham Asylum again, because I'm actually really passionate about talking about it again. And I've already recorded a different Batman video. I'm gonna kind of like sprinkle these in here so I don't completely, only upload that, but that is something to look forward to in the coming weeks that I am excited to share. Now, I do have a question of the day for you before I get even further into this, which is there like a top 5 or a video on Arkham Asylum you'd like me to cover, or any of these games, or any other superhero game? Like if you want me to cover cut content from another superhero game, or anything like that, like specifically superhero games I'm talking about today. I really have been trying to kind of dive back into that world a little bit more, especially the older ones. Going back to Arkham Asylum, there is definitely a passion here that I can tell is here, and an unabashed love of the source material. From the fact that just alone, the bios are borderline ripped from the DC Comics website of the, of that era, to essentially give you like a rundown of who these characters are, to the art style used in the game where it's combining almost a creepy horror-esque atmosphere with a comic book, all the way down to the interactions between characters like Batman and Joker, and even the hidden secrets. Like, how is it possible to hide secrets in a world the size of Arkham Asylum? It's not a huge world. This isn't Arkham City. And, even bigger later on, it's not Arkham Knight. This isn't something where you can easily pack it full of Easter eggs and all these different things, but the team still did do just that. They still made sure that every riddle that you were solving, except for a few of these lining up the solution riddles, I think they weren't quite there on that one. That's like one minor criticism, but they made sure that pretty much every like riddle that you actually solved, it referenced characters in the world. It actually meant something. Even characters that weren't in this game, pointing towards the future, like finding things that would reference Hugo Strange, going into a morgue and finding Ra's al Ghul's body, and then returning after the game is done and it's gone. And by the way, Batman makes no mention of this. I kind of wish that he mentioned it, but just the fact alone that like people could miss that. That's like a tiny Easter egg. Kind of like Azrael standing up in Arkham City off in the distance. That's a tiny detail people could miss. Unfortunately, in recent years, not to make everything about Suicide Squad, but it's one reason why it like re-energized me on this. It's almost like Suicide Squad being so disappointing was something that helped me go back and even appreciate Asylum more. Like how many of those like hidden details and tiny things in the world that show that they loved the characters and loved the interactions and all that stuff is there in Suicide Squad? Not as many as you'd think. You know, the environmental and world designers, they're some of the few people who I think really, really nailed it on their job, like with Metropolis. And there are some Easter eggs. But the fact that I can go around a world the size of Asylum, and it has so many little secrets hidden in it, you know, even the warden's office in Arkham Mansion having that tease for Arkham Asylum, or Arkham City, I should say, sorry, for the Arkham City project. You know, and in universe, that being something that teased the next game and its story. But also the fact that in general, I believe that was the secret that was hidden so well that Rocksteady, like 6 months out, had to go on social media and be like, hey, by the way, you still haven't found everything. You know, that's something that I think is really, really special that not a lot of games can say, especially that they have at that scale. You know, at the scale of what Arkham Island is, that everything feels intentional. Everything feels like it is as it was supposed to be. And even though there is cut content, this isn't a game that feels like there's cut content. There are games that feel like there is cut content, like Marvel's Spider-Man 2. I'm not trying to hate on it. I know some of you really love the game. But you can't honestly play that and say that you can't tell that there weren't ideas that got dropped on the cutting room floor. Very obviously. Storylines that got shortened, maybe areas of the game that were added later or cut down on. There are elements of that that you can feel in a lot of modern games. Going through Arkham Asylum, there is very, very little that, if anything, that you can feel that seems rushed or not thought out. Maybe the final boss fight, you know, the way Joker turns into this hulking thing, we can have a discussion on that. It's iconic with Arkham, but does it fit the character? Man, I don't really think so, not well. But at the same time, you know, those criticisms are few and far between with this game. This is one of the best superhero games I truly believe of all time, with almost a rhythm-based combat that would go on to inspire games over the decades after this. It's crazy to me how well this holds up, especially on PC. Playing through it with, basically, I unlocked the frame rate from 30 and set it to 60, but I believe you can set it even higher. For me, for my eyes, that's what I like. I like hovering around 60. But in general, like, even playing it there, it's crazy to me how well the game holds up all these years later. Graphically, performance-wise, its atmosphere, its characters, its dialogue, being unashamed of the comic books. There aren't a lot of games that now come out in the modern day. Not to say that there aren't games, but AAA games. There aren't a lot of them now that I don't play and feel like there's some missed opportunities in. But Arkham Asylum is one of the ones from the last, 25 years that I play, and there's very little I have to critique on it. It's just such a well thought out, straightforward game that celebrates the character of Batman. And I've had a fantastic time over on Degenerate Plays doing that. So if you want to see a channel that I really am passionate about, that I've been doing a lot of uploading on, that is that channel. I'm still going to be uploading here on Degenerate J. That's not going anywhere. But, as a tiny life update, this channel has been a little frustrating to me because I know, unfortunately, a lot of you are not going to see the things I post. That's just how YouTube works now. So it's been really fun over there to just revisit this game, go through the whole thing, experience it again in a way with fresh eyes, not remembering every detail. So I hope you'll, join me over there, check it out. Also, as well, I do have a couple other things I want to point to if you want to support our channel. Our Fortnite code, DJAY123, always helps us. My wife, Jill, actually recently made an art Twitter or an art X account, depending on what you want to call it. If you're sticking around to this point of the video, you probably either fell asleep to my melodious sonnet of a rant, or you actually like us and care about this content. So if you want to check that out, she's been doing all kinds of stuff, superhero stuff and different things. Recently drew a picture of Storm that I thought was really, really incredible. And we do also have our own store, CosmoBunny.shop. This is where we sell coasters, keychains, trays, and more made out of recycled paper from comic books, manga, magazines, and more paper that has been damaged. We save some of that paper, turn it transformatively into something new in a new medium, and then recycle the rest and keep it out of landfills. These things go to help support our channel a lot, and all of our channels, especially in the current unsteady YouTube era of not really showing subscribers what you post. So We appreciate you supporting us in those ways. Discount code DJAY123 gets you 10% off over there. Have a fantastic day, and as always, everyone, stay shui, and look forward to some more uploads. I'm going to be doing some more with this game and other games in the near future that I'm actually very excited to share with you, and I appreciate those of you who have stuck with me over the years to this point. So thank you.